This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Good evening and welcome to WAAY 31 Law Call. I'm Sharon Doviet. Tonight it's Ask Us Anything night, so call in your questions on everything from car accidents to medical mistakes, child support. Call in the 31 Law Call number to be live on the air, 256-536-0077. You can call in and ask us live. You can also text us live to that same number, and we've got some of your text questions getting ready. You can also email us a legal question on any legal topic any day of the week. You send it to lawcall@waytv.com. And when we get on a show that's on point, we pull out some of your email questions, and we have some of those for you tonight. We've also got Will League from Timberlake, League & Brooks tonight.
All right.
Good
We're happy to be
you
up here live with you, Sharon.
Live. Looking forward to seeing what people's questions are tonight. So what kind personal injury cases are what you do? What all does that involve?
Well, car wrecks, 18-wheeler wrecks, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, premises liability, do some fraud cases, insurance fraud, got some different kind of financial cases, land cases, fraudulent transfers, things like that.
Wide range.
It is. When you need our firm, your ox is in a ditch, and folks aren't crazy about lawyers till you need one.
And we like to pull out something that's current, something timely. We've got some video for you tonight. A lot of people are out hunting, fishing, that kind of thing lately.
Yeah.
Written permission from Trey Taylor.
Trey Taylor?
Crew tractor.
Oh, crew tractor.
Yeah. Who told you you could fish here?
I thought it was state property.
State?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
State?
It ain't.
It's the road, dude. This ain't no state property. This is private property.
Oh,
What
okay.
is your name? I want your name.
Huh?
So I can call down and see who gave you permission
My name?
on state property.
My name Hubert
Last name.
Jones.
Hubert Jones.
Yeah.
State property. I ain't never heard of that before in my life. And a man just called me and called Trey and said, Trey, they're fishing in the pond. He said, lock them up.
Oh, man.
Lock them up.
Well, we about to leave, man.
You better leave, because I can tell you, he's going to call it law.
Tell Trey Taylor I caught a 10-pound out this.
Okay.
I'm cool like that. I'll
Hit
let you.
the road.
I'll let you fish. I'm cool like that.
Hit the road.
Bro,
Yeah.
come on, bro.
Hit the road.
Don't get stuck.
Don't get stuck
If
now.
you thought you had the right to be out there.
You better worry about you get stuck by the law.
6, 7 times, Sharon.
6, 7 times?
6, 7 times is actually what he told him. It was state property. So
Okay.
it
Get
wasn't
off.
state property. So
Okay.
guess what we're talking about is basically, can you go on somebody's land and hunt and fish? Not without permission, unless
Okay.
it's public property. So
Okay.
that was the big issue.
Yeah.
Told him 6, 7 times it was state property, didn't believe him. So the question is, if you're going to go and hunt, it's open and dove hunting season. Don't anybody went hunting. So hopefully you had a big time, you followed the rules, game warden, got your license, everybody was safe. But you got to have permission to go on someone's property to hunt or fish or take game or harvest game. And so if you do not have that permission, you are a trespasser. And you can be, as Grandpa said, you can be prosecuted. But now, Grandpa can't just put him in jail. He'd have to call the police, get a report done, maybe an outside warrant. Did they tell him 6, 7 times? I don't know. So there's a recreational use statute. Okay, so all you landowners out there say, I don't know if I want people on my land, hiking, fishing, all that. Well, Alabama's legislature did something good with the recreational use statute. Basically, you can go on someone's property with permission, and if you get injured, if you're not doing anything crazy and you get injured, then there is some immunity for the landowner for allowing people on his property. You go mountain biking,
if I fall, break my leg.
Right. If it's something that the owner can't set spring guns or traps for you, but they're not liable if you're on the property using for outdoor use, all that kind of stuff. They're not going to be liable. So landowners, the law is to encourage you to allow people to hike and fish and hunt if you'll allow it, and you're not liable under that particular statute. And Grandpa wasn't happy. He was trying to kick them off, and maybe it was state property, maybe it's private property. We don't know.
Funny to see them arguing like that, though.
That's right.
We've got callers waiting. Glad to have you calling in live. Caroline is on the line live from AREP. Hi, Caroline. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to ask a question. I had a contractor to come and done some work for me, and the contractor nor the foreman finished the job that they were supposed to do.
Okay.
And I wanted to know if there's any way, even though I signed the contract, are there anything I can have done about this?
Well, I mean, the contract probably said, and you tell me, Caroline, it probably said you'd pay them X amount of money for them to finish the job, right?
Yes, sir.
And in the contract, it outlined what the job entailed. And so hopefully from the contract, you can show where if they're supposed to do A, B, and C, if they just did A and B and contract calls for A, B, and C, you can still sue them for breach of contract to get C done. It sounds like you've already paid them and they run off on you. Is that basically what happened?
And they tried to get me to sign a paper saying that they had finished the job and they wasn't liable for nothing else anymore.
Right.
But yet they said I had a year to come back to them to tell them to finish the job.
And you've tried, they hadn't come back?
No, sir.
Right.
Glad you didn't sign.
Yeah,
Smart lady.
That's right. That's right. So basically, you got some options. One is if you've performed under the contract and requested them to come back. If they have not, then you can hire someone else, have them finish, and then sue the contractor, the original contractor, for the cost it took you to complete that job. Okay. Now, I don't know what station the job's in. Hopefully, your house is livable, but if it is, then you could go ahead and file a breach of contract action in district court if it's less than $20,000. More than $20,000, it would be circuit court for basically breach of contract. You provided money. They were to provide a service, and that service was not provided. Thereby, they breached the contract. So you can do that in district or circuit court. The judge will issue you a verdict. And then the question is, are they bonded? Can you recover on that verdict? So those are some of the things you'll have to figure out before you decide to file a lawsuit. But you can either hire somebody else or sue them for breach of contract.
Good luck with it, Caroline. We've got folks texting in questions live tonight. Okay, so somebody texts in and says they don't have a job. Their car was fully paid for, and a company car hit them. Now, he is not injured, just some sore muscles. But what kind of funds can he expect to get for damage to his car?
So talk to a buddy of mine tonight. He's a soccer coach in from an African country, been here, and anyway, sleeping. 2 of his cars were hit in the middle of the night.
Oh,
total, both of them. No, total 1, and 1's inoperable. It's going to be repaired, but unfortunately did not have collision or comprehensive. So Alabama law says you have to have liability only, and a lot of people just have that. But if somebody hits you in this case, or in the case that they just emailed about, then your first line of defense is offense going against the defendant driver and his or her insurance company to pay for the damage to your vehicle. But let's assume that person didn't have coverage. And, and that's a lot, even though it's a law, a lot of people, folks don't have coverage. Let's assume they did not have coverage. Then you turn to your own carrier, not underinsured motorists, which you talk about all the time, but comprehensive and collision to pay for bodily injury, for body damage or damage to your vehicle as a result of someone else's fault. And if you don't have that coverage, then really you're out of luck, because you could sue the other driver. But let's assume they don't have anything, or they've flown the coop or fled to wherever they were from.
Right.
There's nowhere to get those funds from, and that makes it much more difficult. If you have a verdict and you can't recover it, then you're wasting your time. And I implore you to make sure you have comprehensive and collision coverage in addition to liability just for this type of case. And it's sad because if all they had was liability, it's not going to come in and pay for your damage, and it can be costly.
Okay, what might they pay? Like, if it's an older car, or what are you going to get back? Is it likely that you're going to get a very small amount back, even if you have coverage, or even if you can find the other driver? If it's an older vehicle, you may not be getting a lot, right?
So let's say I got a 1970 and been driving forever. It's paid off. Everything's good. Well, you hit a ding in the bumper, and if it's only worth $2,000, if it's over 70 or 75% of the value to fix the vehicle, by law it has to be totaled.
Okay.
And so then I have clients come in and say, hey, I want to fix this car. I love old Bessie or whatever you name your old vehicle. Well, you have to get a salvage title, and you have to go and apply with the state to get a salvage title, and then you can repair that. And it's really a weird little mathematical problem that just because the age of the vehicle or the value of the vehicle, if it's over a certain percentage to fix it, it has to be titled. It has to be totaled, and you have to get a salvage title, which is it's weird. It's a weird little law. It sure is.
We got an email question in. This is the one from Tony. Tony wrote in, I was hit when a driver ran a red light. Of course, he said I was the one that ran the light, and the officer believed him. He was driving his father's newer model truck, which gives him a reason to lie. There were no other witnesses, but I still got a ticket, and I got the blame. I'm frustrated. Do I need to hire an attorney?
You know, let's talk about the criminal aspect. Said he got a ticket.
Yeah.
There was no witnesses. You know, oftentimes if the officer, you know, and they do a great job, you know, investigating and trying to get witness statements, but oftentimes there's no camera, there's no eyewitnesses, and so it's a swearing match, meaning driver A said they had the green light, driver B said they had the green light. Who's to know? Sometimes you can tell by timing of lights where the damage was to the vehicle, those type things. But if there's no other extrinsic evidence to prove who did it, then there really, it's a difficult case to win, because under civil law, you have to have not beyond a reasonable doubt, but to a reasonable satisfaction of the jury. And if there's two opposing sides, whichever party brings the lawsuit has the burden of proof to show that it was the other person's fault and they did not contribute under contributory negligence standards. And that's a difficult, so usually it's a tie. And if a tie doesn't go to the runner, you're going to have to show that at least there's a preponderance of the evidence that shows that the other person is at fault. In this case, I get it. Kid may have had a reason to lie. He's driving dad's vehicle, but that doesn't get you there, even though he has a motivation to lie. Now, why the police officer made that determination, maybe there was something in the report that led the officer to that particular conclusion. Otherwise, you may want to fight that. Now, could you go offensively and get your vehicle paid for? Probably not, but you could be defensively and not pay for the other person's vehicle.
Would you be worried about him, like, you can pay the ticket, right? And it's probably easier to pay the little ticket than it would be to fight it.
You know,
if you pay the
depends.
ticket, have you blown up your potential case trying to get recovery for damages?
If you plead guilty, then you've
better fight
declared
that.
it's go ahead, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, I caused damage to this person's vehicle, and then you turn around your civil case saying no, that was their fault. They're going to bring that up and hang that around your neck during trial. So that's going to make it difficult.
We've got Michael on the line with a question from Higdon. Hi, Michael. Thanks for calling in. What's your question tonight?
Yes, my neighbor's got video cameras pointing at my house.
They got what, Michael?
What can I do about that?
His neighbor's got video cameras pointing at his house. Can they do that?
Does it point across the street and then onto your house?
Yes, sir.
Was there any beef between you and the neighbors? Was there
In the past, yes, but now, no.
Right.
Because lots of people have got Ring cameras in our neighborhood. You know, people oftentimes will text each other and say, hey, did you get any video of that speeding car? You know, everybody likes having the cameras.
Michael,
but
let me ask you, is it just at your front door, your front part, or they got over your fence into your backyard?
Got it right there on the fence line and pointing straight over here on me.
Okay. Well, so if you can view that from a public street, then do you have, you know, the question is if it's not the government, if it was the government, under the Fourth Amendment, you have a reasonable expectation of privacy under the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizures by the government. This is not from the government, this is from a neighbor, another private citizen. And I would think that if that camera shows images that could be seen from a public roadway, I don't believe you're going to have a reasonable expectation of privacy on the front of your home. Let's say you got an 8-foot fence in the back and they got cameras pointing down into your backyard. Well, that's a different story, because I think you should have a reasonable expectation of privacy there, and they may not be able to invade that. So you may be able to make some traction to try and remove those cameras. But if it's just if it's pointing out to the street and your house is background, don't think you're going to get anywhere. But again, there may be some other circumstances which we don't know that could come into play where the police may do something about that. But again, if it's public property and you can see it from the public street, it's probably open season.
You know, we were talking about all the car accidents. Viewers writing in saying dash cams are your best friend. They are worth the money. They are worth the investment. So thanks for the comment and thanks for the question. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We've got callers waiting. Nicole, we'll get to you just straight ahead. Stay with us.
You're watching WAAY 31 Law Call. Your rights, your calls, live. Presented by the Tennessee Valley's award-winning personal injury and wrongful death law firm, Timberlake, League & Brooks. Featuring the knowledge and experience of attorney Michael Timberlake, attorney Will League, attorney Heath Brooks, attorney William Maservi, and hosted by broadcaster and family law attorney Sharon Doviet. This is WAAY 31 Law Call.
Welcome back. It's Ask Us Anything night. You know, Timberlake, League & Brooks is very focused on being part of the community and being involved in activities. There were some things recently that you guys
lawyers
dug into.
We've had a busy couple of weeks. There's one of our lawyers, William Maservi, and our staff there, Lindsay and Lauren. And, you know, they did a Race for Justice, a 5K coming out of Joe Davis Stadium.
Good
and
job.
William was instrumental in putting that together, and just a great little healthy event for the community. Good for William for running, proud of him. And we had Caribbean at the park, Caribbean Association of North Alabama, Caribbean Day at the park. Heath Brooks and Michael Timberlake attended the event. Good food, good music, had some reggae on.
Looks like they had a good time.
Fantastic. They had a great time. And there's my mom and all my people, my sister and Ashley.
And there's you at the bottom.
That's right.
Where are you?
Brother Kane, a headline for the Greater Humane Society Saturday night.
Hey, nice.
And just a wonderful cause. A lot of bands coming out, Furniture Factory, Rock Your Paws for the Humane Society. They need money. They're trying to place these dogs. Yeah. Trying to put down as little as they can. Yeah. And just lawyers been busy in the community and just out doing their stuff with everybody, and just proud of everybody, and especially William and them for out there running.
I was going to give a shout out. Had a call into my office the other day from a dedicated viewer, Linda Freeman. Thank you, Linda, for watching every week. We really appreciate it. And we've got callers and text waiting. Nicole is on the line with a question from Hartsville. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for calling. What's your question tonight?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
There was an accident last night in Hartsville, actually, involving several high school students. And while I realize police officers are not responsible for the direction of bad guys, it was a high-speed chase. Are there laws and regulations involving accidents that kind of spawn from these types of situations? And, are there specific protocols for, jurisdictions or...
Right. That's a good question, Nicole. I mean, heard about that wreck, and there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a risk-benefit analysis when you're chasing a bad guy. Did the bad guy just run a red light, or do they have a kidnapped child in the trunk? What's the level of chase that's reasonable under the circumstances? And each department has policies and procedures that they must follow when they're going to engage in a high-speed chase. It's dangerous. So, first and foremost, most policy procedures that if you're going to run a red light as an officer, or you're going to break the speed limit, or you're going to drive in excess of 70 miles an hour, you have to have not only your lights, but your sirens on to warn everybody else that, hey, we're coming. And I've had this case, several times now where the officer is in a high-speed chase but did not put on their lights or siren. And so that violates the procedure. Typically, there's discretionary and other types of immunity for the police officers. I want my police officers to be able to do their job without worrying about being in some type of legal trouble, trying to catch the bad guys.
Right.
But at the same time, to protect the public, you must follow those policy procedures, have your sirens on, have your lights on, to at least warn everybody, hey, we're coming through, do your best to try and stay out of the way. And if they don't do that, there's no way for the public to know, and it puts everyone at a greater risk. Understand there was tragic injuries, and there could be some liability if the officers, my understanding there may have been out of their jurisdiction. That's something.
That's something else.
Were they following policy procedures? My understanding that they may not have been, but I don't know, wasn't there. But let's assume, well, if in this particular case, they're in a high-speed chase, and they don't utilize the safety equipment, lights and sirens, puts the public at risk, and they could be liable for any type of injury, property damage, for entering in or engaging in that conduct without following their policy procedures, and they're there to protect themselves and the public. And so there would be some liability on behalf of the department, whether it be negligent hiring, training, or supervision, or the officer, and thereby the department failed to follow the procedures that are set out in the way they are trained to engage in that particular conduct? And was it worth engaging in that chase? Again, was it just running a red light, or was it the kidnapped child scenario requiring all the stops to be done? Right, and so all those things, all those questions have to be answered to determine whether or not there's liability on behalf of the department.
Thanks, Nicole. We've got Virgil on the line with a question from Sheffield. Hi, Virgil. Thanks for calling in. What's your question tonight?
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling because I have purchased a car, and in the molecule was had a recall on from a transmission module.
Okay. A recall on a transmission module.
Ma'am?
A recall on a transmission module, like with a vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it damaged my motor and it damaged my transmission.
Okay.
But they had a recall on it.
Okay.
And then they said they wouldn't fix it. What can I do?
All right. So
we understand previous owners didn't do that recall.
Okay. All right, so let's say you purchased the vehicle. Number one, did you purchase it as is, which is buyer beware, okay, caveat emptor, a little Latin, and then, or was it under warranty? Can you avail yourself of that extended warranty of that particular vehicle, all right? And then what's the nature of the recall? Did the recall give you 90 days? Did it give you 180 days? And so if you're still under that timeline of warranty or contract, if that faulty transmission system damaged your vehicle, damaged your motor, then you may be able to recover the value to have your vehicle fixed. Now, typically, they put a time limit on these recalls to get them out of it, and they've got to, you have to comply with that. Is it a reasonable time? Go to your dealership, see if you can, see what kind of information they have. I'm sure you've already done that, but go and talk to them, see if it's under warranty. And hopefully it's not as is, because if it's as is and the prior owners did not avail themselves of that recall within a time frame, and then you purchased it as is, then that's going to be trouble for you, because you may not be able to recover to have that vehicle fixed.
Okay. In about 30 seconds, we got a text question in, and I think this is from Fred. Fred had also called in. Neighbor's got a big tree hanging over Fred's storage house. Who's responsible for removing the tree limbs? Can Fred cut those limbs?
Okay. So your property line goes straight up into space, and I think FAA takes over at some point. However, to the extent those limbs come over onto your property, you can cut them in line with your property.
Okay.
And talk to your neighbor, try and work it out. Don't just go out there and cut it. So at least document that you've tried to be reasonable, because if it does go down in court, at least you want to show a jury or judge that you tried to be reasonable. You tried to communicate, and that didn't work, and then you had to do what you had to do.
We'll take a break. Be right back. If you didn't get your question answered tonight, here's how to get in touch with Will League with Timberlake, League & Brooks. They are personal injury attorneys in Huntsville, so that's everything from medical malpractice to big traffic accidents. 256-536-0770 or 800-804-2502. The website is law-injury.com. And if you like them on Facebook, you can learn more about the law that way.
And Sharon Dovey at family law attorney, child custody, divorce. 256-539-7337, SharonFamilyLaw.com. Domestic cases, tough stuff.
So,
Tough
the
stuff.
sad stuff.
Have a good week.
Thank you. Thanks for all your questions tonight.